Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and I am really big for some reason. I'm going to move back. That's a bit better. I felt a bit like, whoa, I'm taking up the whole square. Anyway, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking all about autistic burnout. So if you are new here, feel free to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications every time I upload a new video. So, autistic burnout. What even is burnout? You've probably heard the word so many times, and yet you're not quite actually sure what it means. There's a really important thing to say, which is that autistic burnout is different to ordinary burnout. So ordinary burnout is defined as reaching a state of physical and mental exhaustion, often caused by chronic stress or overwork. Now, autistic burnout is defined as reaching a state of intense fatigue, decreased executive functioning or life skills, and increased processing sensitivity experienced by autistic people. So, autistic burnout. How do you know when you're heading to a state of autistic burnout? What symptoms can you recognise in yourself or other people that will make you think, this isn't great, I think I'm burnt out? Chronic exhaustion, being constantly tired all the time, not having the energy or the motivation to do things, loss of skills in executive functioning, for example, not being able to cook a meal or brush your hair or have a shower. Sometimes even getting out of bed can be impossible for a person in autistic burnout. I know I've experienced that before, where I've had a day or two where I literally can't get myself out of bed no matter how much I want to, and it feels very real for the person at the time. Reduced tolerance to stimuli, for example, everything that you thought was really loud before becomes 10 times as loud. Strong smells are making you feel really sick. The feel of someone touching your skin is 10 times magnified. Becoming really irritable and short-tempered with people can be a sign that you're overworked and you're overexhausted. Unmasking, but also masking more, which I'll kind of explain. Some autistic people may find that they unmask more when they're in a state of autistic burnout, just simply because they don't have the energy to keep up the mask. You know, changing yourself to fit in with other people is exhausting, and that can sort of slip and fade away when you're tired and you don't have the energy to keep masking. On the other hand, people may mask more to hide the fact that they are in a state of burnout because they don't want to be a burden to people. They don't want to admit sometimes that they are actually in a state of burnout because, you know, I'm autistic. That doesn't mean that I should limit myself to what I can do. That doesn't mean that I can't handle as much as other people can, right? But if I'm in a state of burnout, like, clearly something is too much. And sometimes we just don't want to admit that we are struggling, so we try and keep up the mask to present ourselves in a way that seems like we're okay, but actually we're not. Zoning out and becoming distant. This is one I struggle with all the time. I can work out when I've sort of had enough of a social situation, whether I'm tired or whether I just need a break, as to whether I start zoning out and becoming distant from the conversation and the people and the situation. And then I sort of come back into the conversation and have no idea what they were saying. So that happens far too often. But that can be a sign that you're heading towards autistic burnout. Cancelling plans. If people start saying, oh, I'm really sorry, but I can't come to this, and blah, 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 if they keep doing it more regularly, you might think, I wonder if they're okay. They must be really tired if they're not coming to these events. That might be a sign. Not replying to text messages or phone calls. I know that when I get burnt out, I often will not even be able to write a message on or go on my phone, and so people will wait weeks without me saying anything, and then I just respond saying, I'm really sorry, I got burnt out and I couldn't respond. But that is the reality of being burnt out, is that you don't always have the energy to be able to do the simplest of tasks. Also, sloppy work, for example. What I mean by that is in your work environment, whether that's in an office, whether you're cleaning, whether you're in retail or you work in a bakery, if things are starting to not be up to the standard it usually is, then maybe have a look at that and think, am I doing too much? Am I getting burnt out? Might be a sign. So, what can cause autistic burnout to happen? Well, actually quite a lot of things. There's social demands, hanging out with friends all the time, because a lot of people worry that, oh, if I say no to these people, then they won't invite me again, or they'll think I'm boring, or they won't want to be my friend. So then we keep going to these things and doing these things with people in order to keep the friendship up, but actually it can be exhausting. Masking, like I said, we can't not mask a lot of the time, because in society we are taught to be ourselves. You know, that famous quote, be yourself, everyone else is taken. Well, that's all well and good, but then when we are ourselves, we're often shamed for it, or seen as weird, or put down because of it. And I'm just like, you're telling me to be myself, but then you don't like my true self, so how does that work? So then we're constantly having to mask to be able to please other people, which isn't great. And no, you shouldn't live to please other people, please yourself. Living in an unaccommodating society. For example, when our sensory needs aren't met because people don't think that it's important to accommodate for these things. Like, for example, in the supermarkets, having really loud music and bright lights, which can be really difficult for an autistic person to cope with. Or your workplace not understanding that you don't do well in group situations, or not being able to wear headphones in places because it's seen as rude. Those sorts of things can all mount up and become too much and lead to autistic burnout. I sort of had a similar situation last week, so I don't always notice when I'm heading to a state of autistic burnout until it's too late, which I guess is sort of the same for a lot of people. But I had done a lot of things all in a row in the same week. So I had travelled 6 hours in total one day, and then 2 days later I travelled 3 hours, and then the next day I was doing a talk at my brother's school for Neurodivergent Celebration Week, and then I travelled back again. So it was a very short visit. And then the next day I had my cafe, which got really busy, and we ran out of salads, so that was a bit stressful. And by the end, almost the end of my cafe, I literally got to the point where I couldn't talk. I felt like I couldn't do anything, like I was so stressed and overwhelmed that I sort of just shut down. And I was getting snappy with people, and I just wanted to cry, and it all got so much. And looking back at it, it's because I put so much pressure on myself to join in with all these things, which, don't get me wrong, were great things, and I'm so glad I got to do them. But because they were all so close together, I didn't allow myself the time I needed to rest and recover before the next event, that I got a bit burnt out. So the next 2 days, all I did was literally sat on my sofa, listened to my favourite song on repeat, and did nothing. And I clearly needed it. And I'm sort of still coming out of it now, like I'm still a bit like, oh, what can I do, what can't I do? Like, I'm trying to be wise where I spend my spoons and my energy. But autistic burnout is all too real for a lot of people, and it's very serious. and something we should take seriously. So what can help when you reach a state of autistic burnout? Well, something I always am trying to get across is that you should put yourself first. And I know sometimes it might seem rude or you might feel bad for putting yourself over other people, but actually you can't give 100% of yourself to the world if you're not 100% yourself. Take time for yourself. You know, things can wait, people can wait, but actually what can't wait is your health, your mental health, how you're feeling. It's really important to look after yourself. Tell people and ask them for support. For example, I have the most amazing friends who I know that I can message any time when I'm struggling with something, and I'm not a burden to them because they really just want to know that I'm okay. Don't feel bad or ashamed for resting. This is such an important one because I feel like our whole lives we are just taught that being productive is doing 10 different things in one day and you know, going out to this thing and then getting that thing done and working for 2 hours on this thing and, you know, doing all these great things. But actually, how are you able to do these things if you don't rest and you don't prioritize rest? We're sort of shamed for resting in a way that if you're sat on the sofa for 2 hours doing nothing, that you're unproductive, you're lazy, and all those things. But it's really important to get a balance right of being productive and I guess busy in a way, and then also being productive but the restful kind. So don't feel bad for having a nap in the afternoon. I try and have a nap when I can because actually it makes me have more energy to do things afterwards, instead of trying to work all the way through the afternoon and then just being so knackered I don't actually get anything done. It's so important to make time to rest and to not feel bad for it. Stock up on microwave meals. This one kind of sounds funny, but actually when you're in a state of burnout, it's so important to be able to take care of your health and your mental health, even when you feel like you can't. And a good way of doing that is making sure you stack up on microwave meals. You have ready to eat snacks in the cupboard, drinks on hand, maybe even put stuff by your bed so that for the days where you can't get out of bed, you still got things nearby that you can have. And this is so important because, like I said, sometimes you're not able to stand up and make a whole meal or go downstairs if you're in your bedroom. And so having these things on hand, really easy and quick things, can be really helpful. Also, having a burnout kit in the most important places in your house. Now, I read about these a while back online, and basically the idea is you make sort of like a little first aid kit, but with things that would help you when you're in a state of burnout so that you don't have to leave where you are. For example, having one on your bedside table so that if you can't get out of bed, you still got things access to you. So it might be like having baby wipes next to you so that you can wipe yourself down if you can't have a shower, or having juice boxes so that you can always have a drink with you, and having snacks, like I said, having deodorant or tissues or a phone charger, or even sort of like a word search book or something if you feel up for doing something whilst you're in bed. These things can be really helpful to have on hand so that when you are feeling burnt out, you don't have to get up and walk somewhere to find all these things. They're already there in one place. So also, it's important to acknowledge that, yes, autistic burnout is serious, but also there are ways you can prevent ending up in autistic burnout in the first place. Look for the signs of autistic burnout. Like I said earlier, the symptoms, what can cause it, and then look at these things and think, have I been doing a lot of this lately? how can I counteract that to make sure it doesn't get any worse? For example, reducing your workload, maybe asking if you can work from home so that you're not being exposed to intense sensory stimuli, asking housemates to help with chores around the house that you're finding difficult or too much, asking for support, wearing sensory accommodations when you're out, for example, wearing headphones or ear defenders and not feeling embarrassed or ashamed for it, carrying around fidget toys with you. If that helps, do it. Wearing comfy clothing and not conforming to what society deems as fashionable. Just wear what you feel comfortable in. If that itchy piece of clothing is going to bother you all day and make you tired because of it, why are you wearing it? If everyone else is wearing a tie but you don't like the way that it feels claustrophobic around your neck, why are you wearing a tie? No one says you have to. Well, obviously unless you're at school and there's a uniform, but then talk to your teachers and say, I'm really struggling with this. Is there an accommodation you can make so that I don't have to wear it? And also, stop masking. I know it's easier said than done, but actually masking can be something that is the most exhausting for an autistic person. Maybe try and work on feeling more comfortable to unmask in certain situations. I know I said this earlier, but allow yourself rest days and naps and afternoons of not doing anything and putting pressure on yourself to be productive. Asking for support, talk to people. You could go on holiday and try and forget about everything. I mean, that'd be nice. Not quite sure it works that way, but it's a suggestion. Make more time to engage in your special interests, because things like that can really revive your energy and help just regulate your emotions and counteract the busyness of life with something that brings you joy and happiness. Find out what drains and recharges your battery and make the time for those things. So some people in your life, you may find it a lot of energy to hold up a conversation with them or be around them. They may always be putting you down or talking negatively, or they might be really bossy, and those things can really drain you being around those people. But then there's some people where it just feels effortless to be around them. Like you can have a laugh, you can be yourself. Seeing them really brings up your energy levels. So make time to do those things and cut back on the things that are really draining you, if that is possible. And, you know, look at your spoons and see where actually you are putting your time and energy into and whether that is actually the right thing. I've spoken about spoon theory on my channel before, and it's basically the concept where you split your energy levels into spoons, theoretical spoons, and you have a certain amount of spoons for each thing or task that you do each day. And so making sure that you're not using more spoons than you've actually allowed yourself. And if you do, that the next day you use less spoons to make up for it, so that you're not always overdoing it and doing too much. So finally, I just want to say to anyone that knows someone that is autistic, which, let's be honest, that's probably everyone. You might have a friend or a family member that is autistic, and I think it's important for you to know how you can help someone that is autistic avoid going into burnout. So really, the only thing I want to say is just check on them. Ask them, are you okay? I mean, that's the biggest thing you can do for anyone, autistic or not, is just always just seeing how they are and seeing if they need support with anything, or if they are finding anything too much, just regularly checking in on them and letting them know that they're not alone, you're here for them no matter what. If they need anything, it's so important for them to feel like they have a safe place and a person they feel like they can talk to about these things. That means the world to us. So I hope you found this video helpful. I think hopefully it is anyway. I'm not sure what I said made sense, but then again, I haven't really been in a make sense mindset at the moment, coming out from burnout. So but hopefully it did. Anyway, I'm rambling on. If you enjoyed this video, then feel free to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications every time I upload a new video. And let me know what other topics and things you want me to talk about in my other videos. And also comment down below of what you found helpful when you were in a state of autistic burnout. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.